All right, this is the morning of March the 31st. We have Pastor Ken Hovind, and we're going to start a new round of Bible questions. So we praise God for these. They're very encouraging to many of us out on the outside, Pastor Hovind, and you said they're encouraging for you as well, so we give God the praise for that. Pastor Hovind, the first Bible question comes from Rob, and Rob says, who were the Nephilim in the Bible, and where did they come from?
Well, age-old question, Rob. I don't think anybody knows for sure. There's a half a dozen theories. Well, the word Nephilim is the Hebrew word. They're just translated giants. It's in Genesis chapter 6, the first couple verses before the flood came. It says there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, they took them wives of all which they chose. There's only 4 verses there, and extremely controversial. It seems the most common theory is that the Nephilim, these giants, are the result of the sons of God, probably fallen angels, intermarrying the daughters of men, producing half demon, half human beings, which apparently were giants. That's the standard interpretation of that verse. I think, though, if you'll read it very carefully, you'll see there's plenty of room for saying, no, that's not a for sure translation of what that means. But
this call is from Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
For instance, the phrase in the middle of all that says, and also after that. Meaning maybe it is not even connected. I don't know. So I'm pretty cautious. If the Bible isn't clear and dogmatic, I try to not be clear and dogmatic. I mean, some things the Bible's crystal clear on, but this, to me, it is just not clear on. But to answer your question, the standard teaching, theology on this is that some kind of fallen angels intermarried the daughters of men and produced half demon, half human offspring. They were giants in the earth. Maybe that giants is talking about the dinosaurs. Maybe it's talking about giant men. I don't see how it's clear, but let's assume it's giant men. Noah's kids, and Noah would have certainly seen these people. God sent the flood, destroyed everything, everybody. However, after the flood, Noah's kids had a bunch of kids, and they would have told their family and grandkids and great-grandkids about these people who they knew before the flood. They'd be sitting around the campfire saying, oh, yeah, you should have seen the guy live down the street from me. He had, whatever, some kind of strange abilities. And the theory is that those legends grew into the legends of Zeus and Thor and Mercury and the Roman gods and the Greek gods and Olympus and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, but that seems to be a reasonable explanation, but I don't take it any further than that because there's simply not enough clues that I can find from the Bible. So, a long answer to a short question, but it appears that the Nephilim are indeed half demon, half human. That, of course, raises the question, can fallen angels take on a human body and procreate at all? Do they have a physical capability of that? Or was that a one-time thing? The other part of that theory is that those who did that pre-flood, those who had taken on a human body and produced these offspring, those fallen angels, was not all of the fallen angels. The ones who chose to do that, according to one common theory, is that they were immediately sent to hell, and they've been in hell ever since. The other demons, fallen angels, who did not participate in this, they are still running around in Jesus' day. It's probably still today, demon possession, etc. And when Jesus threw the demons out of the maniac of Gadara into the pigs, they said, are you come to torment us before the time? And it's really the only verse we have on this topic, but it appears that they know they're going to hell. They just don't want to go yet. And they know that some of their buddies have already gone there, being the ones that were pre-flood engaged in this activity. So that's all the light I can shed on it. Maybe it'll just muddy the water more, but I don't think anybody knows for sure who the Nephilim were. Some people will preach real dogmatically on that. Oh, they know for sure, like God told them or something. I just can't do that. Okay, next question.
All right, thank you, Pastor Hovind.
I have a question from last night. How many heavens are there?
I can barely hear that. Was a question about the heavens?
How many heavens are there? Yes.
Well, the Bible speaks clearly of 3 heavens, but there's only one verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Paul said, he knew a man 14 years ago in the body or out of the body, I cannot tell. Such an one caught up to the 3rd heaven. That's the only mention of the 3rd heaven in the Bible. And most people think Paul was talking about himself, where 14 years earlier he had been stoned to death at the city of Lystra and actually died and saw heaven. And the disciples are dragging his body out of the city, and he came back down, and the Lord sent him back, got in the body, rose, and went back in and preached some more in the city and continued his ministry. But the most commonly accepted theory is that Paul actually died at Lystra, got to go see heaven, and then was sent back down into his body, and for the rest of his life he was anxious to die. He couldn't wait to die again. He told the Philippians, I have a desire to depart and be with Christ, which is far better. Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is needful for you. So it appears that Paul had actually seen what we have coming and couldn't wait to get there again. So, but that's the only verse that says the third heaven. Genesis 1:1 in the King James says, in the beginning God created the heaven, singular, one. So apparently there was earth and then everything else, heaven. Then in verse 14, God divided, put the canopy, or verse 6 and 7, he put water above the atmosphere, which would then create two heavens. The first one where the birds fly, Genesis 1:20 talks about the birds fly in the firmament. So that would be our atmosphere, say 10, 15 miles thick at the time. It's thicker now because it's expanded out. But then beyond that was the stars in the heaven. Then at some point God put a second layer of ice, I think, or water, beyond even the stars. And the only reference to that I'm aware of is in Psalm 148, verse 4, the waters that be above the heavens. So to me, that indicates there is still probably a crystalline canopy of ice beyond the stars, and maybe everything we see and marvel at, it's like, wow, look at this huge universe, is actually a little snow globe on God's dresser. Pick up and shake once in a while.
That's right.
I don't know. But the answer to the question is, there are three mentioned in the Bible, only that one time, the third heaven. So my teaching on it is that the Bible seems to teach the first heaven is where the birds fly, the second heaven is where the stars are, and the third heaven is where God is. Now, if you look at Matthew 24, where Jesus talks about the rapture, and compare it with Mark 13, there's a very interesting difference at the end of after the sun and the moon go dark. In the Mark passage, it says he's going to gather. Excuse me. It says he's going to gather his saints from the uttermost part of earth to the uttermost part of heaven. It doesn't say that exactly the same in Matthew, but in Mark, we're going to be taken to the uttermost part of heaven. I think God's going to get us so far away from here for the marriage supper of the Lamb that we don't know or care what's going on down on earth. We're going to be up there having a wonderful time in the uttermost part of the third heaven, wherever that is. So that's about all the light I can shed on that one, brother.
No, thank you, Pastor Hovind. Thank you very much. A lot of people have been asking me recently, Pastor Hovind, about sending you books, and the last thing I remember you saying about that is that you're not able to receive any, and so I just wanted to check in again and see if that's changed or if that's still the case.
I cannot receive books, and the law library lady is here to give me some copies. Let me call back in just a minute.
Okay, all right. God bless.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, that was Pastor Ken Hovind. I think we have 48 days until his new trial. That was Bible Questions, the Nephilim, How Many Heavens? And as you heard, he's not able to receive books at this time. And if he calls back, when he calls back, we will continue these Bible questions with him. But for now, I will upload this to you.